On. Welcome, audience members, to the Master Your Money show. So we're going to be focusing on how to build your entrepreneurial and your financial mindset so you can make more money and accelerate your business. And with us today, we have Pauline Bright. Now, Pauline Bright is an incredibly experienced business coach, and she's actually had she's had 11 businesses in her lifetime as well, from advertising and design through to retail and consulting. And look, I heard about Pauline because I'd seen what she was doing on LinkedIn and just knew that she'd have this incredible value to bring to the show and entrepreneurs and people running a side hustle here. So I've brought her here today. Pauline, just want to thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining the show.
My pleasure. It's great to be here. Thanks, Josh.
Fantastic. Now, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about who you are, why you do what you do, and where you're headed.
So I call myself a business designer because my background was always in art and design, and I worked in advertising for a long time. And I've always had lots of businesses, and I love business. I love that vehicle you've got to increase your income and to really understand the true value of yourself. So join the two together, and I do a lot of business coaching, and my modalities are coaching and training and mentoring, but it's more about designing the kind of business that fits you and your lifestyle and what you really want. So as you said, I've had a lot of businesses. I often wonder why I've had 11 businesses, but I do know why, because if something wasn't working, I wasn't afraid to change it. So I'd change it to something that was more suited to what I wanted. And so as things transformed over a period of time, I was always really focused on the money side of it, and delivering really good value, but the money side of it, because there's no point being in business if it's not making any money.
Exactly.
So, and I've had a lot of businesses in like various ones. One of my favorite ones was one of my early businesses after advertising, actually alongside. So I had a lot of businesses alongside each other. One of the businesses I had with my husband was we had a souvenir shop at a local drag racing strip. My husband's a mechanic and absolutely car mad. So we started this business, and it was and because we had small children and everything at the time, we just had to juggle and cope. But what we found was if you give people what they want in the time that they want it, then price no longer becomes an objection. And so my thing is always being able to maximize the value of what you've got and the things that you sell so that people buy them in the time that they need them. So at the drag racing, we learned that when the sun went down, the mosquitoes came out. So we were selling hats and T-shirts and that sort of stuff. So we started selling insect repellent. And then when the sun went down, they'd all come with their summer clothes, but they were freezing. So we sold them witch heaters. So, it's definitely being in the right place at the right time and having a business that people want, not a business that necessarily, it's something that people need. Well, a person once said to me, I've got this business idea. It's something that everybody needs, but nobody wants. Now that's going to be a really hard sell. So when you're in business, you need to find something that everybody really wants and needs at the same time.
Excellent. And what's your current main focus in business now? Tell us a little bit how that works and the why.
So because I'd had so many businesses, and I always loved the design aspect of business and the creativity of business. So the business I had prior to becoming a business coach was an interior decorating business, and it started out as a colour consultancy, working with people and finding out what they really wanted, what their rooms to look like, what they want their homes to look like, and it was just adding way more value than just slap a bit of paint on this wall. And then my husband was approached by a business coaching company. And I said, oh, no, you do that because I'm right. I know all about business. Little did I know. And then at the first session of business coaching, the coach said to the room, who here thinks that they'd like to do what I do? And I just went, oh, that's me. That's absolutely me. So it's like all the businesses I had been my apprenticeship up until that stage.
Mm.
So got into business coaching and just absolutely loved it. Just really found my niche. And if you'd asked me, several years before that, I would never have considered it, wouldn't even have known what it was.
Mm. And had you had business coaches yourself to see that with, or was it?
No, at
Yeah.
that time, all I really wanted, I knew in business that I wanted someone to help me. And I always thought it was a manager. I want someone to manage me. I can do all the output and the stuff. I just need someone to manage my stuff. And I didn't realize that what I really needed was a coach. And then when I did start going looking for it, I couldn't find what I wanted. And I found a lot of it was male dominated, definitely. And a lot of what I was being told was very dry, dusty and boring. And I was in business and I was excited about it. And I just didn't want someone to just damp it down for me. So no one could give me the information in a language that I could understand. So when I decided to become a coach, it was more about, I can explain this stuff simply and elegantly and in a language that people can understand. So it was really just a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. And were there any mentors then that you had key mentors along your journey with your businesses? Was that something you'd experienced? And then was there mentors when you were learning to be a coach or stepping into that as well? How does that look?
Yeah, my dad was my best mentor. My dad was a really brilliant salesperson. He was an insurance salesperson, and I inherited from him these beautiful badges for the amount of business that he'd sold. And my favorite one is his first one, which is his first million, but they go all the way up to 100 million. And this was in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s sort of era. So pretty big deal. And so even though I didn't know it at the time, he was mentoring me.
Yeah.
And he was a fabulous speaker. He was just such a great speaker. So that's where my speaking passion came from. I just wanted to be able to influence people and talk to people like my dad did. So he was my first and best one. And then when I came into coaching, I had some fabulous mentors. So I had people who, and I guess the best way to describe it is people who could see me and my potential rather than just see me as I was. So I had really, really good mentors, really good coaches, and that did make the world of difference to me. And it was funny because when I was at school, all my report cards always used to say, not working to potential. And I used to think, what does that mean? What are people seeing that I'm not seeing? And so that's the stuff I love to do with my clients as well. Just have a look at that potential and just bring that out in them.
Yeah. And how does that look? Like what kind of process do you use there, or what are your tools that you use to bring that out?
Look, there are some core ones. I definitely believe in the money side of it. So like I said, if you're not making money, it's not a business, it's an expensive hobby. So the money side of business is very important. So I do coach on money and I do understand money, and I didn't for a long time when I had my first few businesses, and they could have been much better if I'd understood it better. So I coach on money, I coach on potential and what that person is capable of, and I coach on marketing and sales, but it's very individualized coaching. It's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all. It's very much tailored to the person, and that really works.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, it's really interesting you brought up the money side, because I've been really loving understanding people's backgrounds around money and where their money mindset might have begun. And I like going back in the past and seeing, usually it's in people's childhood, but if you can tell us, what was your first experience or memory around dealing with money?
There was a few things actually. My dad used to always get stressed about money, and he had 5 children to feed and a non-working wife. And so he used to do all those, I'm not made of money, and money doesn't grow on trees. So those sorts of things were things I grew up with, and I had to overcome those. And we used to play a thing called the money game, where we get fined 5 cents if we misbehaved. So I knew
Right.
not to misbehave. But we also got pocket money that we could choose to do what we wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that really influenced me was my dad used to control all the money in the house. And so mum would she didn't even get an allowance. She got an access to a check. She would have to ask Dad for money, and he would write her a check, and she would go to the bank and she would cash it. And that was the money that she could spend on groceries and kids and things like that. Very little for herself. And I remember even as young as I was at the time, just thinking, no one's going to tell me what to do with money. I'm going to be responsible for my money and how I spend it and how I earn it. So pretty early in life, I really learned to be responsible for myself with money.
Yeah, that's quite an emotional kind of experience to have, that kind of put that drive or that independence in it to do that for your personal life and business life. Is that how it translated over?
It made a huge difference to me. And so every business I've had, and I've had a few jobs along the way, but I'm not great employee material. I tend to tell people what to do instead of doing what I'm told. So it just made a difference to decide what I wanted to make, how I wanted to make it, and I wanted to be happy making it as well. I wanted to just really enjoy the whole process of money.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept of enjoying money. Is that something that you dive into then with your clients, like helping?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm really influenced by when I first got into coaching, I discovered Jim Rohn, who's he's deceased now, but he was lovely. And one of the things he said was, you don't get paid for the hour, you get paid for the value you put in the hour. And he also said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job, because if you work hard on yourself, you can earn a fortune. If you just work hard on a job, you're just going to make a living. So you know that whole investing in yourself has always been the key to what I do.
No, that's absolutely true. And I mean that's something I think about when I'm speaking to people about money, and particularly people in business. I've seen, and you've probably seen this too, people can get really caught up on just the dollar figure in the business, and it kind of almost like they put these constraints on themselves, and if they don't hit this target or they don't reach that they can't enjoy life or can't enjoy spending money. Is that something you've dealt with personally, or have seen a lot of other business owners experience as well?
I think the biggest hang up in business is money, that people don't understand it. They don't know what to do with it. And once you understand that you're investing not just in your business, but you're investing in yourself, then it's a totally different spin on it. So I always like to get people to find out what their money, hang-ups are, and then to find out what we can do about that, how we can break some of those patterns, and what we can do to improve their relationship with money. And when it no longer, the thing is, you can't hit it head on. It has to be something that it's something you work around the edges and you work towards it. So it's this lovely process of discovery. It's like, so that's the thing that's holding me back. Yeah, I get it now. So yeah, there's a process, and everybody's different. Everybody has different junk around money. And once you clip all that, get rid of all that, people just surge ahead, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And it's such an emotional topic. So I like that you mentioned there, you kind of have to start with the edges and start with a situation where it's non-confrontational or more of a casual conversation, an easy way into it. I can definitely see you doing that in your coaching, that you try to dive into the issue a bit.
Yeah. And I think because it's such an emotional issue, it's not something that you can hit straight on the head. You have to just approach it sensitively, and it brings up emotion. A lot of people will actually cry about money. So you need to be able to handle that.
Definitely. Is that something with working with other business owners, do you find that people have an understanding of what the real situation is with the money in their business, or some people have buried their head in the sand, or what do you tend to see there?
Most people have no idea, unfortunately. It's like they're spending money willy-nilly, and they don't realise if they actually do things differently, then they can have all the money they need. So working with a guy at the moment he's spending like crazy, doesn't talk to his accountant about it. I'm trying to rein him in and saying, okay, you need a budget, you need this, you need that. The business needs a budget, you need a personal budget, and you need to tell people what your plan is and what you're going to do. And his wife is trying to do the bookkeeping and she has no idea. He'll just spend money like crazy. So being able to get those two people on the same page is the first thing. You know, understanding what she needs, and vice versa. Because if they're not talking to each other, they're not getting it. And the thing I've also found is that there's a lot of women working in businesses as the bookkeeper because they're the wife, and that's what wives do, don't they? And they're not necessarily qualified, and they're not necessarily enjoying it either. So, and I've been in that. I used to do the bookkeeping for my husband's business. God knows why. I can do it. I'm capable, but I didn't love it. I like it now. I didn't love it then.
Yeah.
But I'm not a bookkeeper. No way.
Yeah. And what changed or what do you recommend for your clients you're working with in that situation?
So, he didn't like it, but we put a moratorium on spending. So no more spending now. You spent enough, you've got enough, you collected enough toys, you've got what you need. Now we need to put those toys to work and get them making money for you. And we need a personal budget and a business budget. So I'm working with the wife to help get that done because he's just too focused on other things. He's not focused on the money side of things. But once he realises what's there and what's available to him, he'll have a better understanding of it and he won't feel so niggly about it.
Because that's a really interesting situation that when you've got partners working together in business. Are you tending to see that with a lot of your clients, or is it more people just by themselves doing it? How do you kind of look at that other element of the relationship side and then business and personal finance?
People don't often correlate business and personal finances, which is kind of odd because if you think about it, if the business has to give you an income, you have to know what that income is. So you need to understand what your personal budget is first so that you know what you can spend and what you can't spend. And you need to know what your business can throw off in terms of income for you. Instead of taking the scraps at the end of it, plan what you want to make right up front and then build that into the business itself. Build your wages into it first before you start doing anything else. And you'll find that miraculously you do end up making what you want to make because you have to. Yeah. So I have all sorts of different clients. So there's no one size fits all here. If I'm working with couples, I work on that relationship around money with both of them. And if I'm working with individuals, I'm just making sure they've got a really good accountant, a great bookkeeper, and someone who really understands money, someone who can explain money to them. So if that's a coach or whatever, it's someone who can explain money to them in terms they understand. Because I think that's just the biggest gap is that we're not taught about money properly.
Yeah.
Not much at all.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Now, I'd really like to find out one of the key things that have really helped you both in your entrepreneurial side of running your businesses, but then in your financial side as well. So what would be the one key thing that's made the biggest difference to your mindset around entrepreneurship and then finances?
I think the biggest learning is to value yourself and invest in yourself. So you have the capacity to charge almost what you like if you provide the right value, and if you understand that you have a values match with your clients as well, then you never enter into that conversation about price. It's not someone this morning asked me, how do you justify your price? I never have to justify my price because I pick the right market. I choose clients who can afford to pay me what I'm worth. And so I've always had that very strong sense of worth. and I deliver something that is tangible for them, so that they can, they can peg that to, okay, if I've spent this much, I've got this much return, it's a good investment. So, it's like, it's just the first step of investing. If you invest in yourself first, everything else falls into place. So, and people get really hung up about money and what I can charge and what's my charge out rate. It's like, if you de-link the time for money stuff and you provide the value that people want, then you don't have to worry so much about competing on price or having arguments about or pushback about what you charge, because it's irrelevant. You're going to deliver what you promise you deliver, and they get the result. So I think that's been the key for me. I've always charged probably more than most, and I've always felt really confident about it. Yeah. So I learned that from my dad, and I learned that from my mentors, was just that whole I'm worth it stuff. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. And I like that, you mentioned there that you focused on not having to need that conversation, because in the beginning you've actually chosen that niche that they must see your value already, and they I guess when you mentioned there, when they can see the dollar increase or the value you're going to give to your business, then it's kind of like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't they pay you to go and do that?
Yeah. And people really struggle with that, finding money to invest. But if you invest in yourself first, and so you educate yourself and you look after yourself and you make sure that you're delivering what your customers want, then once you've made that investment and you can make more money by doing that, you've got more money to invest in other things. But until you do that, you really have to scratch around looking for, a little bit of money to invest in real estate or invest in whatever it is you need or you want. But if you can increase your own value first, then you don't have to worry about that, because it is honestly limitless what you can do.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And I know you've got a resource that you're offering to our audience as well around the Time for Money Game Changer. Please, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Okay, so it's a document. It looks like this. And it has a few key things into it. It's got 7 things that you can do to increase your personal value, so that you are charging appropriately for what you do. And there's a table in there that people find quite fascinating. And what it is a chart of. I always start with the end in mind. So if I want to make $500,000, for example, I can look across the line and I can see, if I want to make $500,000 and I want to work 48 hours instead of 52 as a business owner, I'm going to give myself some holidays. I'm going to work 30 hours that I can bill for, so billable hours, productive hours. I'm going to have 10 hours as non-billable hours, so marketing, doing the finances, doing all the admin and things that you need to do. Then you know exactly how much you can make. So if I was going to do that, 500,000, my weekly turnover would have to be 10,416, and my monthly turnover 41,666, and my hourly rate $347. And when you do that, people go, oh, but you can then start thinking, well, what makes me valuable enough to charge $347 an hour? Wow. And really thinking about what's the value I can put in that. So whether you're selling a product or a service or a combination of those two things, you can work out what that value is and what you put into it.
Yeah.
So, and it works. So it's a grid from everything from making $100,000 to $1 million, and it'll show you exactly what you need to make. You need to make about $650 an hour to make $1 million with that thing. It's doable.
Yeah.
It's very doable. I charge it. I know what it's like.
That's great. That's great hearing that perspective on it, starting with the end value you want, rather than starting at the other end saying, I think I can charge this much, and working way up that way.
Yeah. But don't go to the industry first. Don't go to say, what does everybody else charge? You work out what you charge and what your clients want and what's valued to them, and finding out if I'm in the right market to be able to charge that, and how much people will value it, and how much value can I deliver, and the tangible outcomes for them. And you never have pushback, you never have arguments about it.
Yeah, that's great. And so your document details that process there for people to work through themselves.
Yes,
Is
yes,
that how it
it's a
works?
fairly simple document, and if
Yeah.
they need more information, they can always contact me. But it's a fairly simple document just to look through, and just it's a document where I like people to just ponder, to just think about. So I ask lots of questions and ask about what would it mean for you to be able to do this. And so if you really thought about, okay, if I have a reaction that says, I couldn't charge that much, you think about, well, why not? What would need to happen for me to charge that much?
Mm.
So, yeah, it's a document to sit and ponder with and think about, and then take some action.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh, yeah. Well, look, audience members there, that's incredibly worthwhile exercise, because I know from experience, it's so much easier when you put a higher price on something. Actually forces you to be more creative and to think outside the box, think outside of the square to see what more value can I provide for people, and then every area starts to improve in that way, and then you have better cash flow as well. You're making more money. So I'm definitely going to check that out. That sounds amazing, Pauline. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
And you're certainly going to have a lot more fun while you do it too.
Yeah, fantastic. Definitely. Yeah, look, well, Pauline, I just want to thank you for joining us on the show. There's incredible insights there. I really love the focus on value there and valuing yourself. And not only that, but you've created that tool to help people discover what that value is, to improve themselves, and in turn improve their business and their financial future through that. So that's just brilliant.
That's my pleasure, Josh. And I think it's about getting people to understand what they're really capable of.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Great. Well, audience members, we want to thank you for being a part of this today, and for tuning in and hearing from Pauline's wisdom. We've got more value coming up in our other interviews as well, so make sure you stay tuned to those as well. And we're going to keep working on how you can really master your entrepreneurial mindset, your financial mindset, to make more money in your business and to be more successful and live that ideal life that you're aiming for. So thank you for joining us, Pauline. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Cheers.